Welcome to My Zone Online School. My name is Mr. Masia. Let us also say hello to my friend. Today's grade 6 lesson is on natural science. But before we can begin, please let us remember to wear our facial mask, and also let us use our sanitizer. So let us take a few squints in our hands and quickly rub our hands around and in there. Get around your fingers as well. And another important thing to remember is to keep the distance. So let us just stretch our arms on the sides as well as in front to ensure we are not touching each other. Today's lesson is puberty and sexual development. Let us now turn to page 17, where we will look at puberty and sexual development. What are the basic competencies we will encounter during this lesson? You should be able to describe the differences between the reproductive organs of a male and female from given diagrams. You should also be able to explain the role of the basic structures of male and female reproductive organs. Vocabulary. What are the words that we will encounter during this lesson? One of the most important words to know is organ, which refers to a group of tissues working together. Now, this group of tissues can be self-contained, they can be inside the body of the organism, or they can be outside the body of an organism. Examples include the lungs, your heart, and your eyes. The next word is the human reproductive system. It is the system in the human body that reproduces and bears live offspring. In other words, it's responsible for making babies. Let us now turn over to page 18. You should be able to describe the differences between the reproductive organs of a male and a female from given diagrams. So here on page 18, we have two diagrams, one on the left and one on the right, of a male and female. The human reproductive system is so similar, and yet it is very different from each other, but there are a lot of complements to these bodies. Now, if you want to state a difference between the reproductive organs of a male and female from a given diagram, then we have to look at the organs that these body systems in-house. And for most of the male reproductive system, you will find that it is located outside of the man's body. And these external structures are the penis, the scrotum, and the testes. Most of the female's reproductive system is located inside the woman's body. The vulva is the only external organ, and it houses, yes, other organs, but it will be the only one visible from outside. Now, the male reproductive system also produces, maintains, transports, and nourishes sperm cells, and also adds a protective fluid that is going to protect this sperm cell. And this protective fluid, we refer to it as the semen. Now, once the semen has been deposited into the female's reproductive system, the female has another responsibility, which is to develop the fertilized egg into a baby. Let us now turn to page 19, where we will look at the female reproductive organs. Remember here that we are expected to describe the role of the basic structures of a male and female reproductive system. Let us turn to the chalkboard so we can discuss this in detail. Now on the chalkboard with me, I have the female reproductive organ. And we are now just going to label it, and afterwards, that is when we will look at the role of these structures. The first one that we have on my left here is the ovary. Now, the ovary is a structure that is both on the left side and also on the right side. That is the ovary. Then from the ovary, we have another structure, which is right here. It is actually a tube that is coming from the ovaries, and it goes all the way to another structure. This structure is known as the fallopian tube. And there are also two sets on this. Another name for the fallopian tube is the oviduct. Another name for the fallopian tube is the oviduct. Do not worry if you cannot see the words very well. You can just turn to your book on page 19 and you will be able to see the structures there. Okay, the next structure we are going to label is right here, and this structure we refer to it as the uterus. Refer to it as the uterus, and from the uterus we have a structure responsible for closing and opening known as the cervix. And from the cervix we have the vagina. Let us turn back to page 19 and look at our clear diagram. Now on the diagram you can see the labeled structures of the female reproductive organs. You are expected to be able to identify these structures and label these structures. The role of the basic structures of female reproductive organs. Let us discuss what is it that they do. Let us now look at the role of the basic structures of the female reproductive organs. Right at the bottom of page 19, you have a table that shows us the organ name as well as its role or use. The cervix is responsible for connecting the vagina to the uterus. And the uterus develops a fertilized egg into a baby, while the fallopian tubes or oviduct connects the ovaries to the uterus, and the ovaries produce egg cells and hormones. Let us now turn over to page 20, where on page 20 we will now look in detail at the male reproductive organs. Now, if we turn to the chalkboard, we will find that the male reproductive organ can actually look a little bit complicated when it comes to labeling it or following its structure. You have to have a starting point and an ending point. And for this structure, our starting point will be at the scrotum. Now, the scrotum is part of the external organs that hangs outside the man's body. But inside the scrotum, we have a structure known as the testis. We have the structure known as the testis, and from the testis, we have another structure which is coming from the testis going outwards, and this organ is referred to as the vas difference. And the vas difference goes on and connects to another structure And this structure is referred to as the seminal vessel. And from the seminal vessel, there's another structure where it goes into called the prostate gland. From the prostate gland, there's another tube, and this tube is known as the urethra, and the urethra is in-housed by another structure referred to as the penis. The penis also hangs outside the man's body. Let us now go back to page 20 and look at our diagram there, how it is labeled. Remember I said we start all the way from the bottom, which is at the scrotum, and inside the scrotum we have the testis, and from the testis there is a tube connecting there called the Vas Difference, and from the Vas Difference we have a structure referred to as the seminal vessel, and from the seminal vessel we go into a structure known as the prostate gland, and from the prostate gland we have the urethra, which is in-housed by the penis. Please do not get confused with the urinary bladder. It is not part of the reproductive system. Let us go down to page 20, and on page 20 at the bottom we have the role of the male reproductive organs. And this table shows on the left side the organ name, and on the right side the function or the use of these organs. To begin with, the scrotum. The scrotum is responsible for temperature control and protects the testes. The testes are responsible to produce sperm cells and hormones. And in order for them to do this, they require an optimal temperature that is provided by the scrotum. And once they have been produced, then the sperm cells and hormones must travel through the Vas Difference to the seminal vessel. And the seminal vessel will then produce seminal fluids and nourishment of the sperm cell. So the sperm cell will need nourishment to keep it alive and healthy. And then from there we have the prostate gland, which is responsible for producing fluids and nourishment, which will further aid the movement of the sperm cells. And all these contents will exit the male's body through the urethra out of the male's body. Let us now turn to page 21. On page 21, we have your activity 1, and here are your instructions to completing this activity. The first thing you need to do is study the diagrams that are provided for you. And once you have studied them in reference to today's lesson, only then can you complete this activity 1. And at number 1, you should describe any two differences between the male and female reproductive organs. So you look at the diagrams and then you describe any two differences between the male and female reproductive organs. And at number 2, you explain the role of the male and female reproductive organs below. A is the ovaries, B, uterus, C, oviduct, D, testis, and E, the prostate gland. Good luck with your studies, everyone. Please remember to sanitize after doing something like I'm currently doing right now. I am sanitizing. And from me and my friend is goodbye.
stretchy. And make sure to always make a helicopter circle, stretching your arms out and spinning around like me. And make sure you're not touching anyone while doing this. Goodbye.
Akili, 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 akili. Will you wash your hands with me? I want to wash my hands with you. Come on, I will show you what to do. Wash your hands in clean water. Wash your hands, wet them with the water. Wash your hands, now add some soap. Scrub your hands in the soap and water. Scrub above and below between the fingers too. Scrub under your nails and scrub-a-dub-a-doo. Rinse your hands in water. Rinse them clean, rinse away the soap. Dry your hands and go.
Akili, why do we wash our hands?
To wash away the germs.
Akili, what are germs?
They're like tiny little bugs on your hands, and they can make you sick.
But I don't see any germs on my hand.
That's because they're so tiny that you can't even see them.
Oh wow! I want to wash the germs away. Will you wash your hands with me, Akili?
Of course! Wash your hands in clean water. Wash your hands, wet them with the water. Wash your hands, now add some soap. Scrub your hands in the soap and water. Scrub above and below between the fingers too. Scrub under your nails and scrub-a-dub-a-doo. Rinse your hands in water. Rinse them clean, rinse away the soap. Dry your hands and go. Great job, Haruma! Can you tell me the 4 things we did to wash our hands?
I can try.
1.
Wash our hands with water.
2.
Put soap on our hands.
3.
Scrub our hands all over.
4.
Rinse our hands clean with water.
Wash your hands, wash the germs away.
We know the world is a crazy place right now, but don't panic. Take a breath. Slow down. Or better yet, stop completely. We'll still be here when everything settles down. In this time of uncertainty, look to nature. She has all the answers, you know. We're not only giving ourselves time to reset, we're giving nature time to restore, revive, restart. We're saving ourselves and we're saving the world. Stay home now, so that we can welcome you to Namibia again soon. Yes, the world's a crazy place right now, but don't despair. Find the joy. Cherish hope. Breathe. Take a moment. Take a few. And someday soon you'll once again be able to stay in wonder at this magnificent view. The world's a crazy place right now, but don't worry, we'll still be here. We'll see you again soon.
and welcome to the She Word, the show where we discuss trending topics amongst women across Africa. Girl, 7 years old. Do you know why you're here?
In 1997, I was filmed by an American news crew at the place I was being held, a shrine run by a priest dedicated to the worship of deities. I was labeled a Trikoshi, a wife of the gods, paying for a crime committed by a family member.
The purpose of sharing my story was to say, you know, you may have gone through something, a traumatic experience. You are still able to have life. You have life, you can live life, you can contribute to society, and that's what it should be about. It's not really about like victimizing because I honestly don't like watching it.
Prevention is important. Help prevent the spread of illness and keep yourself and others well. Hand washing is one of the most effective ways of preventing the spread of germs. Wash your hands regularly with soap and hot water, scrubbing your hands thoroughly for at least 20 seconds. Hand sanitizers can be used but are not recommended as a substitute for hand washing. Use sanitizers in addition to hand washing or in a situation where soap and water are not available. To avoid spreading germs, limit sharing of personal items such as utensils, cups, and dishes. Your skin acts as a barrier to germs, but your eyes, nose, and mouth are more vulnerable. Wash your hands thoroughly before touching your face, eating, or drinking. Avoid physical contact with others, including handshakes, fist bumps, high fives, hugs, and kisses. Social distancing is deliberately increasing the physical space between people to avoid spreading germs. While regulations may vary by country or area, the best guideline for social distancing is to maintain a distance of 6 feet from others. Germs can travel through the air from one person to another. If you sneeze or cough, do so into a tissue or the inside of your elbow to prevent the spread of germs. Avoid contact with ill individuals and insist they isolate themselves until they have recovered and are symptom-free. Clean and sanitize frequently touched common surfaces and high-traffic areas in your home and workplace several times a day. Share these guidelines with others and help prevent the spread of illness and maintain a healthy environment. An ounce of prevention is worth a ton of cure.
Many countries that have passed their first peak of COVID-19 are experiencing a second rise in cases. Is this a second wave of infections, and could even more waves lie ahead? Previous pandemics might give us a clue. The 1918 Spanish flu was the most deadly pandemic in modern history. It killed at least 50 million people. Its second wave was the most deadly by far, killing millions more than the first and third. More recent outbreaks, such as SARS and swine flu, have also had 2 or more waves, so it looks like the COVID-19 pandemic could have several too. The World Health Organization has warned about the dangers of a deadly resurgence. Many countries and places have seen infections accelerate after bringing their first waves under control. These rises aren't necessarily new waves. They could be spikes. Spikes are rapid rises in cases that aren't sustained, whereas waves happen over longer periods and often contain several spikes or peaks. Second waves only take place after a first wave has retreated. Many scientists believe more waves are inevitable and think a worse one could hit during autumn or winter. Some other coronaviruses spread faster when the weather is cold. If this is the case with COVID-19, it would put health systems under huge pressure. Many people are still vulnerable, and immunity to the virus might only last a few months for those who recover. It's also possible that mutations to the virus could lead to new waves. Hundreds of mutations have been found, and some could potentially make the pandemic more severe. One mutation may have already improved the ability of the virus to bind its spike proteins to human cells. This strain of the virus appears to unlock cells more easily and has become dominant around the world. It's unknown how the virus will continue to change, but further mutations could make it even more dangerous and harder to control. A reliable vaccine would help solve many of these problems, but it may take many months or even years to find one. Until then, we all need to make long-term lifestyle changes to protect ourselves from further waves. How are you learning to live in a world with COVID-19?
Beautiful souls, this is Nikita Winkler and I'm here to share easy tools for stretching that you can do just about anywhere. This is a demonstration, so what's most important is that you take the time that your body needs in order to release the tension that it has. So let's get started. In this session, we will be stretching the spine. We will be folding and unfolding all the way from the head to the tailbone. This is a little bit more technical, so once you understand the technique, you can go ahead and do a couple bit more repetitions. All right, so before I get started, it's called a roll down and a roll up. I'm going to take an inhale, and on the exhale, I'm going to first release my neck, and then one by one, slowly, the upper spine, middle spine, lower spine. When I reach midway, I'm going to bend my knees all the way as far as I can go. Just to make sure that there's no tension in the neck, I'm going to shake my head yes, and shake my head no. If I'm feeling a lot of tension, I can go ahead and tap the back. Or maybe ask my daughter, son, friend to do that for me. Alternatively, give yourself a shake, or a twist, or a swing. Notice that there's no tension in the upper body. How do we come back up? First, I'm going to bend my knees, drop my tailbone, and zip my core up and stack the vertebrae right back on top of the tailbone. No tension in the arms. Keep the shoulders relaxed. And the last thing to unfold is the head. When you reach the top, you might feel a bit dizzy because there's been a lot of blood rush to the head. So what's very important is that you stay grounded. Catch yourself with your breath. Big inhale. And exhale. Let it fall right into the ground. Do a couple of repetitions, and that's going to really release tension throughout the back. Alternatively, use a ball, an exercise ball that you can just lie over. Same thing. It rounds the spine, releasing the tension in all the vertebrae. Wonderful. I hope you feel good after doing this. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget to breathe, and happy stretching.